Hey everybody, this is Jackie from the Australian Inky Pod. You are tuning into the second part of our interview with Nate from Ichpig. Part 2 of this interview reviews future opportunities for Ichpig, a day in the life of Nate, and the techniques he used to capitalize on his relationship with his manufacturers.
So do you want to tell us a bit about the difficulties you faced at the start of Ichpig?
Yep, sure.
What kind of got you started driving momentum?
Well, definitely the custom thing, how you could pick the colours. And then, once word got out about how good the jumpers were, how good they felt, that was it. They spread themselves. We didn't need to do anything. We didn't spend a cent on advertising for about 3 or 4 years. Word of mouth got around and we just spread like wildfire. That's kind of how it kind of blew up, I guess. And then slow but surely, and probably the biggest thing in this world these days is it's not necessarily about what you know, it's about who you know. And I'm learning that lesson now because when we were kind of young, we were kind of fuck the world, we'll do it ourselves. We don't need no handouts. We're self-made people or whatever. And that gets you so far. And what we're kind of realizing at the moment is 7 years down the track is that you kind of reach a certain point, a certain volume, amount, whatever. And we're at that point now where it's we can't go any further unless we get help. And whether that's influencers, people that can help the business, developers, whatever, you need to get new life in, new stuff to take you in different directions, to find new pieces of the puzzle, to find where the market is or whatever. But yeah, that's why things for instance, that Kanye stuff, right? That Kanye, the brand, the tour stuff, all right? Or even the Beaver stuff, right? That product is shit house. It is shit product, right? Remember how it came out that he's just anti-social social club or whatever. He's just printing on Gildan tees. He's just putting Pablo on, that's bullshit. And asking the amounts that he was asking, that's a slap in the face to people like me and Alex who bust our ass and know our product and have learned our fits and designed everything ourselves. But that's a classic example of it's who you know, not what you know. And it doesn't make you any less of a person if that's how you start, but that is the fast track, for sure. That is the fast track. It's not necessarily the most sustainable track, but it is the fast track. I feel like what we've done will last longer if we get it right, but if you start that way, you'll get way more traction faster.
So have you ever thought about endorsement deals where you get some type of celebrity to kind of just go into that fast track? Because I know that's what Nike and stuff like to do. They give out huge sponsorship endorsement deals to people and then they just bring in...
Yeah, it's how the whole Jordan brand started.
Yeah, but fundamentally you got to have Jordan.
Yeah.
So how do you get Jordan? That's the problem. Odd Future, Tyler the Creator, right?
Mm.
So Alex had been following him before he blew up for ages. And we even thought about getting in contact with him. But it's how do you actually do that? When the gun's at your head, how do you actually say to Ben Simmons, who's blowing up in the NBA right now, who's from Melbourne, his freaking father coached me at high school.
Oh, no way.
I couldn't get nothing to him, not even if I tried. Because from the age, the problem with sports people is, skaters, we'll just say sports people as a whole, they're locked up by Nike from the age of 12. You can't touch them. You've got to be willing to commit 8 years of your company's life to that person just so that you can get them to the stage where they become marketable. We've endorsed and helped out heaps of skaters and heaps of people, and some have worked, very few have worked, and a lot have failed because you just don't actually get anything out of it.
Do you think it's just a contrast between different types of people you're going after?
Maybe. To be honest, the way I see it is fundamentally, Ichpig isn't providing those people with their supper. So when the gun's at their head, they don't really care as much as I do, which is fair enough because I own the business. But yeah, I mean, think about it, like, how the hell would I get my clothing on ASAP Rocky? I don't even know where you start with that. Like, how do you... Like, he would have so many people hitting up, not him, his agent, or the person that even handles the stuff below the agent. Then the person below the agent might hand it to the agent, and then the agent might hand it to ASAP. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, we've sent stuff to guys in Canada and, like, haven't seen nothing from it. We basically sent a whole bunch of shit to this guy in Canada and he fleeced us. Like, and that leaves a really sour taste in your mouth. And the problem with Australia is fundamentally, you know, like, when you're going for that cool market, it's like, who actually cool has come out of Australia?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's not a hindrance. That's not a slap in the face on us. It's just not what we're good at. We're good at other things, you know. We've had heaps of good business people. We've had a lot of good politicians. Lots of good sports stars. But, you know, like I said before, the sports stars you can't touch because they've got endorsement deals already. You know, their goal is to get epic at their sport, and to do that they need the equipment. So as long as they're doing the sport, which they've always obviously been doing their whole freaking life, they've always had an endorsement deal. So the sports people are pretty much gone. You think about movie stars, I mean, yeah, there's Hugh Jackman, there's Nicole Kidman, but I mean, fuck.
Is it the right brand for you?
No.
Probably not.
So then you get rid of movie stars. So then you go music people. Well, you know, you said ASAP, all those fresh guys in the States. Unfortunately, Australian hip hop's not seen like that. It's not perceived like that in the world, unfortunately, you know. And that's fundamentally the problem is, you know, like, the world does not look to Australia. It looks to Europe and America and Japan and those kinds of places for inspiration and kind of what's up.
Even like Korea now.
Yeah, Korea's blowing up with all those kind of... I've been watching those, you know, those... What are they called? There's those dance girls, you know? They do those big dance ensembles.
Brendan loves that stuff.
They're pretty fresh. Like, I was thinking about hitting them up. They're pretty fresh. But, like, yeah, Korea's blowing up. Like, I mean, I've been watching Korea for ages, you know? Like, when I lived in Canada when I was 19 or whatever, one of my best friends was Korean. And I was like, man, this is the next thing. These are the come-up guys. You know, once Japan's kind of been flooded, Korea's next. But it's like, fuck, I don't know anything about Korean popular people. Like, and then there's the language barrier,
I think there's tons of clothing brands in Korea, though. Just as you said before, it's like so populated now. Everyone has their own clothing brand.
Yeah, and it's a really weird market. Really weird. From what I've seen, the fashion's super strange. It's super odd. Like, it's real bespoke and real unique and weird.
Kind of like Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's even crazier than Japan because I think they feel as though they're the little brother of Japan, so they're kind of trying to outdo Japan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Japan still is pretty solid. Like, when I go to Japan, I see the kind of the fashionable people. I think, yeah, I could dress like that. No worries. But from what I see from Korea, it's just like, oh, that's fucking madness.
So who do you see as your primary customers? Like, are they like skaters? Are they...
Yeah, it's funny that, you know, like, that was one of the things we really struggled with at the start was, like, how do you define yourself? You know, like, the world, it just craves definition. It can't just let things be. You have to be something, because if you're not this, you're something, you know, like, and that's what we found was, like, because we didn't explicitly say that we are a streetwear brand rooted with skateboard origins, we started getting all of these groups that kind of we weren't really about, and they hurt us a bit. They did hurt. Like, we made bank off them and we did well off them, but, like, yeah, we kind of, yeah, we had to kind of say that this is what we are to say what we're not. And that was really hard because Alex surfs, We both snowboard really well. I skateboard a fucking heap. We play basketball a heap. You know, we do tennis. We used to swim a lot. Like, we just do everything. Like, we do so many different things. But it's like, you can't build a brand off that because it's just too
broad.
It's too broad. Not even Nike do that. They have Nike SB for skating. They have all that Nike concept stuff, all the hype beast guys froth off. And then they have, Nike basketball. They have divisions of Nike basketball. There's Kyrie, there's LeBron, there's fucking Jordan brand. Then Jordan brand has sub-branches, Russ has a division of Jordan. Then Kawhi has his thing. And then, it's just... And that's what you got to do. You can't just say, I'm going to throw out a big-ass fucking net and get every fish in the sea. Because once one fish sees the other fish that they don't like, they say, I don't want to be fucking roped in with this fish,
Yeah. Kind of creates, like, different communities as
well. Yeah, you got to spend time kind of finding all the different communities. But we do appeal to a very large base of people because fundamentally... I guess when Alex and I grew up, we were kind of exposed to so much shit, like just all walks of life, all kind of ethnicities, all kinds of sport, kind of cultures. So yeah, we've always mixed in with a lot of different people. So yeah, it's hard to kind of hit everyone like that. It really is. But yeah, at the same time, you can't be too selective because then you make no money. Like if you put all these conditions on what you are, it leaves like 100 people to sell to or whatever, right? And it's not sustainable. So, yeah.
So you spoke before in part 1 of the podcast about how your team is huge now. So do you want to tell us a bit about your team?
Sure. So when I mean huge, I mean like... Well, it's not huge now. It's funny. We went through ebbs and flows. So we started off really small. It's just me and Alex sewing the jumpers ourselves out of the garage. And then, like, one of our customers who's still with us to this day, his name's Liam. I remember one day he came to pick up his jumper and I was like, oh, do you want to help me out? Because I was really stressed out. Like, I had 1 million jumpers to make. I was so busy. I said, oh, do you want to help me out? He said, yeah, sure. And he's been with us ever since. Like, it's crazy. Like, he worked for us for like 2 or 3 years for nothing. Like, and we just gave him free prod or whatever. It was...
Oh, wow.
It was sick. And he's actually Alex's design assistant now. He kind of helps out with like kind of making manufacturing files and colorways and garments and stuff like that. So that's cool. So yeah, kind of at around the 4-5 year mark, we started employing a bunch of people, to help out with weekends, and probably at the 3 year mark or 4 year mark, I think it was, we actually employed one of my best friends who started off as a customer, but he was a skater that I'd seen around. His name's AJ, and we made him kind of our second in charge. He runs the operations. He does a lot of things. He's our right-hand man, and he's kind of lived off us ever since. It's pretty crazy. Like he walked away from like a kind of a labouring job, kind of in like packing refrigerators and shit out in Laverton in the West. That was paying pretty well, but it's a shit job. Who wants to work in those kind of conditions for the rest of their life? Some people are built for it and some people are not, and he wasn't really built for it. So yeah, and then like I think we got to the stage where we probably had like 10 employees, which doesn't seem like much, but I promise you it is. Like, it's hard keeping 10 people on the same goal of keeping Ichpig just, on the track that you're deciding that track is. And that's what I was kind of saying before, like we realized, like it's not sustainable. The stores aren't doing as well as they should be. There's too much fat. You got to keep it lean and mean. And lean and mean's sick in the sense that, you get sick profit percentage back. You make a lot of money. You make better money. But it means that you do everything. Like a day in the life. You were asking about a day in the life of me, like I could wake up at 6, do a bit of sales stuff, look at my emails, You know, go to the gym, do my stuff, then do more sales stuff in the car, have a phone call with Puma or something, get into the office, we do the sales strategy for the day, what are we going to sell for the week, where are we at, you know, what's dropping, what's content, do some IG stories. Then, you know, I'm finding people's hours, I'm doing the pay, I'm doing the payroll, I'm spending, you know, and then I pay all the invoices for the suppliers. And all that shit happens by 10 o'clock. I've done all that by 10 o'clock. And then, you know, you get into trying to sell, hitting people up, seeing what the website's doing, watching the analytics, hitting up abandoned checkouts. You know, then there's some kind of, we actually got to design the product at some stage. So then you're designing product. You know, Alex pulls me aside saying, you know, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Will this sell? You know, and then all in the background, AJ's doing the shipping. And then, you know, if there's any problems with, you know, shipping or stock or whatever, or, you know, you got to sort that out, contact customers. And then, you know, you're hoping that you're at a kind of a decent number for the day by that point, and you got to adjust based off of that. And then you try and get some more content, and you go for a skate, and then you get home and you're trying to make more money. And then, you know, you got life with the girlfriend as well, and you're trying to cook dinner, support her, talk to her about her day, try and make sure you made the money. And by all this time, you sit down at 9:30, you say, shit, I got through a lot of stuff today. And that's lean and mean. You know, you do everything. You go from, you know, being the model in photos, the photo shopper that, you know, cleans up the photos. You do payroll, you do accounting, you do business stuff, you do product development, you do sales, you do advertising. You do every single job there is. And that's what, as a young business owner, you need to be. You need to do everything. And if you can't, you need to seriously take a look at yourself and say, am I cut out for this? And I'm not sure if that's a bit more brutal than what people in the past have said on this podcast, but that's what I've found. And that's what it is like, at the end of the day, me and Alex could run this whole thing ourselves. No worries. We could do everything from go to woe, even produce the garments if we really had to, if the world all burnt down. And that's not necessarily saying you have to be making everything yourself. You've got to make judgment calls, you know, like it's not economical for me to be sitting on a sewing machine anymore because I'm the best seller. It doesn't make sense. It costs the business money if I'm not out there trying to sell stuff. And it's just about learning kind of, yeah.
So when you're out there trying to sell stuff, are you hitting up your old previous customers?
Yeah. And you use Facebook as the mechanism, because Facebook is kind of that perfect paradigm between email and text message. Email, no one checks their emails. Text message, it's a bit too invasive. Facebook Messenger is right in the middle of that. And we discovered that very early on, and it's worked really good for us. But, you know, it gets to the stage where you've been hitting up the same people for 7 years. Like, you got to come up with a creative way to keep them engaged and not have them turn around and say, dude, I've given you enough fucking money, piss off. You're just hustling me. You know, like, it's really hard. It's really hard. And, you know, along the way, I've had some people tell me, fuck off. And it's really, you take it personally, but you can't let it take it personally. But, you know, like, you kind of go, oh, fuck. You know, I'm just trying to make a buck. I'm just trying to do something good. I'm trying to funnel this money into something else that will give back, or, you know, it's just, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to keep doing it over and over and over again. But that's where that tagline comes in, is the relentless progression fueled by one's own hunger. If you don't have that hunger, you won't progress. It's got to be, it's hard. It's kind of like, it doesn't make you depressed, but it does make you sometimes not appreciate how fucking awesome we've done. Like, we're two young boys that have not just survived but prospered in an industry that is absolutely killing itself. You know, like Myers on the shit, David Jones is dying. I mean, you name it, they're gone. Like you think about like Osmosis and Billabong and those kinds of places. Like, do you two even give a shit about those brands? Would you guys, those guys,
Not anymore.
those brands wouldn't even be on your radar. They wouldn't even be potentially on your radar. That's how far into obscurity they are now. And they were massive as hell companies, you know, like
9 years ago, 6
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah,
Like
back in
Billabong-
primary school was huge.
Billabong had to sell Nixon for $500 million just to stay afloat. Their best asset was Nixon, and they had to sell it. $500 million. And even that didn't keep them afloat. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Their name, Billabong, has a net value of nothing. It doesn't actually equal anything. And it's like, whoa. So it's, yeah, like kind of the point is like, it's that insatiable hunger because you're always chasing and you're always missing the goal. You're always missing it. It's just always moving away from you, yeah? It's like, because you keep missing it, sometimes you get down on yourself. You say, oh, we're doing really shit. We're not doing what I was expecting or whatever. But like, sometimes you do have to step back and say, fuck, you know, like I'm doing good. And give yourself some props for when you hit those targets. And when you do a little bit better. And if it doesn't go well, you know, like people show their true colors when they're down and out. And that's kind of what we've always prided ourselves on, is like, you know, when the chips are down, we don't just sit on our hands and say, fuck this, you know, the world's too hard, it's too saturated, you know, like we get creative and we think of an idea and it works. It always has. Every single time, it always has worked. For 7 years, it's amazing. Like when you think about how many ideas we have come up with in 7 years, it's just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. In terms of sales strategies, problem solving, garment design, distribution, like, yeah, it's crazy. It's just nuts.
So can you tell us a bit about your manufacturing process? Because I know it's all done based in Melbourne.
Yep. So, I mean, it's changed a bit over the years, and it's kind of like there's a couple of different channels. So with simple stuff that we kind of can design ourselves, because Alex and I are not professional pattern makers. We understand what we want and how we want to fit things and what we want things made out of, because fundamentally we started off as sewers. So we know how things are constructed and we have a pretty good understanding of what you can do. So with certain things, for the first 4 or 5 years of the company's life, we'd go to our manufacturers and say, look, here's a sketch, this is what we're thinking, let's make this happen. And they'd help us build the patterns and that's pretty rare. Manufacturers don't usually do that. They don't usually help you with the pattern. They say, you know, I'm here to make the garment, that's where I make my money. You know, pattern making and sampling is a very, very costly thing. It's very costly because you make money off repetition. You don't make money off doing one-offs. And a lot of the time, those samples that they'd make for us cost them a lot of money, but we'd always reward them with pretty big orders. So simple things like, you know, some of our track pants and our hoods and our tees and all that kind of shit, we kind of handle that all ourselves with the manufacturer. Like they'll help us out with the pattern a little bit and we kind of go off from there. You know, we'll kind of, Alex and I will kind of design and finalize the colorways, the brandings, all that kind of shit, you know, for the simple stuff. For the more complicated things, like this jacket, yeah, that's a bit harder. So that's like, basically, Alex and I will come up with a 2D idea, and then we have a guy called Andrew that comes in from about two times a week, something like that, and he will convert our 2D idea into a pattern that can then be made into a 3D idea, if that makes sense. So with things that are more complicated, now you're starting to think about things like Velcro on the sleeves, zips, different lengths of zips, pull cords. How does the branding work? Where do you get the fabric from? How does it all interact? How does it all marry together? What does the pattern look like? And then on top of all that, you've got to figure out your grades as well. So with every garment, you've got to figure out, you build your large, and then you go 2 sizes the other way and 2 sizes the other way. And it's got to get proportionally smaller and proportionally bigger. And that's quite complicated. And then on top of that, you've got to figure out how much do you think you're going to sell in the large, how much you're going to sell in the medium, and sell in the small, and sell in the XL and the double XL. And you can't just say 2, 3, 1, 10, 9. It has to be a ratio. So what I mean by ratio is like, you have to say, for instance, if you think large is the most popular, it's double as most popular small, yeah? So you put small in the ratio at 1, and then you put large at, say, 3. And then you say you think medium's in between that, and XL and medium the same. So you put them both at 2, 2, and then XL's the least popular, so put that at 0.5. So then what happens is you have to multiply the layers of fabric that you want to lay down by that ratio. So say you put 10 layers of fabric down, right? You times 10 by 1, so you get 10 smalls. 10 by 2, you get 20 mediums. 10 by 3, you get 30 larges. And that's how the yield works. The yield is like the pattern. It's like the jigsaw puzzle that they cut out. And the way manufacturing works is they layer up the fabric like a sandwich, right? And then they draw the shape that they're cutting out on the top piece of the sandwich, and they come through and cut it all out. And it goes right to the bottom, right through to the bottom piece of the sandwich. And then you got, by doing one cut, you made with all these 3 different pieces, if that makes sense. So the way the grade works is you basically say, I want more of these pieces on the top layer than in other sizes. And that's how it works. So you've got to think about that too. And that's quite complicated because basically you're forecasting how much of this shit you're going to sell. And you fuck it up all the time. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's extremely complicated.
It's such a nightmare.
Especially compared to, like, for example, some person is just wanting to start out their business online. They could do it this way, which is extremely complicated. They could just go off and print some crappy quality thing, some crappy hoodie.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, like we put the time and the effort in at the start, and it was a lot of work, and it's been a fucking long process, like a long learning process. But now, it's funny, like I was at gym this morning, and one of the trainers bought a hood off me this morning, and he put it on straight away. He's like, man, these are good fits. They're really good. Like, he tried on 2 sizes, and they both fitted him really well. And he just picked which one fitted him better. Like it was just, I said to him, like, both are going to fit you. It's just a question how you want them to fit you. And he picked the one that fit him a certain way. But he said straight away, these are good fits. I didn't have to say nothing to him. I didn't convince him. I didn't hustle him. I didn't persuade him. Nothing. The garment did it for itself. And that's 7 years worth of work.
Yeah, it's just like you mentioned before at the start, it all ties in. You can either go build your own high quality garment and then build that sustainable way, or you can fast track it, get a lot of momentum at the start, but you'd burn quick.
Yeah. And that's why, like, things like Antisocial Social Club, that's done. No one's buying that anymore.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's done now.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, how quickly did that come to fruition? Like, that hasn't even been around for a year. Maybe, I don't know, maybe... But, like, you think about it, like, it came into, like, the magnifying glass for a year there. It was just on fire. Everyone was, everyone's buying their stuff and wearing those hoods and those tees and shit. But because fundamentally the product was crap and there was nothing to it, it was just bullshit. People said, well, fuck, I'm not going to be tricked anymore. There's fresher shit. And that's invariably something fresher comes along, like Off-White or, there's Stone Island, which has been around for ages. There's so many different things, like, and then all these kind of old brands like Lacoste and LV and all those kinds of brands are now doing all this stuff with Supreme anyway. It's like a new brand's being created every time that one of those guys do a collab with Supreme. It's nuts. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you're good at your craft, you will survive, but it is a lot. It is a bit more work, but it's worth it in the end.
Something you can be proud of.
Fucking oath.
Yeah.
Like, like one of the sickest things about owning a clothing company is just I can start a conversation about it anytime I want. Like anytime you have that that going through the motions chat, you know, like with someone you meet them for the first. Oh, hey man, what's your name? Duh. Oh yeah, cool. Where do you live? Oh, you know, I live in Melbourne. Oh yeah, what do you do? Oh, I own a clothing company. Really? Cool. And what? It's all made. You just get it all made overseas? No, it's all made in Melbourne. Really? What's it called? Like suddenly, I've just got myself a half an hour conversation without even trying, and I've just gained someone's respect like that without even trying. I've had to answer 2 or 3 sentences, and it's pretty powerful, and like. I guess for me, you know, like, I don't know. My thing is, you know, whatever people think of me, you know, they can call me a money-hungry dog or whatever. I don't care. But bottom line, at least I'm doing something good. You know, at least I'm trying to do something good. I'm like, yeah, our fabrics could be biodegradable, or we could give more money to charity, or we could, you know, make things cheaper or something like that. But at least fundamentally, I'm trying to keep the money in this country. I'm trying to keep people employed. And I'm trying to keep that knowledge too, you know, like if someone wants to know how a jumper is made, they shouldn't have to go to China to find that answer out. They should be able to ask that question in this country, and someone in this country knows that answer. And I'm trying to keep it that way for as long as I can. I agree. Once this generation of manufacturers kind of starts maybe dying out a bit, it might get a bit tougher, because I'm sure none of your friends want to be a sewer for the rest of their life. And like, who aspires to be a machinist? It's the cold hard truth. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but fuck, I'll worry about that in 5 years' time. I'm not worrying about that now. I've got enough problems.
So just to wrap this up, Nate. So what's one tip you'll give for people that want to start an e-commerce business in today?
E-commerce business. Make sure above anything else that, you know, what you're selling is fundamentally different. It has a purpose in this world. It has a need. Like, would people actually want it? You know, would they want to pay for it too? It's all very well and good giving people free disposable shit, but it's disposable shit that doesn't have any value. Your product has to have value. You've got to value it like it's, you know, this is the thing that's gonna set up your life. You know, like it's gonna sustain your life if you've already got a life running or whatever. You know, like not everyone's 19 or 21 when they start an e-commerce business. And that's the start. Everything else comes from that. I mean, like I was saying, yeah, if you're best friends with A$AP Rocky, you know, maybe, yeah, you start there. But like fundamentally, you know, if it's crap product, he's not going to want to represent it, you know, unless he's, you know, absolute homeboy or whatever. And you can dial that up and down in terms of, you know, the level of fame that you're talking about here, you know. Yeah, I guess, yeah, for us, I always thought, bottom line, our product was epic. I thought it was a really good product, and that's why it sold itself. So that's where I would start. Yeah, because you could have a really, really good website. You could have really, really good traffic driving to that website. But again, if what you're pushing is crap product, you're not going to last. It's just a trick. Maybe it's a 1-time trick. Maybe it's a 2-time trick. Maybe it's a 3-time trick. But by the 4th time, you're stuffed. It's so hard to keep people buying from you as it is if you've got good product. If your product's shit, you got no hope, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's a good note to end on. Just creating something that actually creates value for people, and fundamentally you need to create a good product that sells.
You think about like a fidget spinner.
Yeah.
Like, that's a classic example of a product that's just, it's crap. It's bullshit. You know, like, once you hit every single person in the world, I agree, that's a pretty massive pot. But, you know, once everyone kind of got their fidget spinner, what's next? You can't build, like, they might build on it, I don't know, but they haven't. And it's just a crazy craze that's just, you know, it's a classic where it's like, yeah, it's like, you put it on a bunch of famous people or some people that have some traffic, or I don't even know how that exploded, but it did. And now it's dead. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on today, Nate. This is a really, really good podcast, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
That concludes our interview with Nate. You can find Ichpig at ichpig.com. For more information on the Australian Incupod, visit us at australianincupod.com. Make sure to leave a review and follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and our website to stay up to date with our latest episodes.